which opened last week, but I didn't get to. So, genuinely scary and engaging psychological horror movie, runs for 114 minutes and is rated M, centred around a hard-working therapist in an emergency psychiatric unit named Dr. Rose Cotter, played by Saucy Bacon. As she's about to leave the facility after a particularly long shift, a young graduate student called Laura Weaver, played by Caitlin Stacey, enters, shaking, clearly traumatised. In the past few days, Weaver witnessed one of her professors bludgeon himself to death. And since then, she's been seeing things no one else can. It's a malevolent entity that wears different faces as if they were masks. At times, it pretends to be someone that she knows. Whenever she sees it, it's smiling at her. Not a friendly smile, rather one suggesting something terrible is about to happen. Despite Dr. Cotter's reassurances that nothing bad is going to go down, Weaver's convinced she's about to die. And die she does in front of the psychiatrist. Thereafter, Dr. Cotter herself begins to have terrifying visions. Increasingly, her behaviour is becoming more and more erratic. And that's cause for concern for her live-in fiancé Trevor, Jesse T. Usher, her older sister Holly, Gillian Zinser, and her sympathetic boss, Dr. Morgan Desai, played by Cal Penn. In desperation, Dr. Cotter turns to her former police officer boyfriend Joel, Kyle Gallner, for help. As the plot of Smile unfolds, we also get to hear about Dr. Cotter's troubled past. Smile is an auspicious feature film debut for writer and director Parker Finn. It was inspired by a short film titled Laura Hasn't Slept, featuring Caitlin Stacey, that he made, Parker Finn, in 2020. And I reckon with Smile he's created a captivating work of terrifying fiction. It is decidedly creepy, is it not, Dave?
Yeah, it's really refreshing as a horror fan to be able to go and see a film that's not part of a franchise or a reboot or anything like that, and it's refreshing to see a young director coming through and really announcing himself as a great future in horror filmmaking. So, yeah, this is a great film. I went into this not knowing what to expect. Of course, they've been doing this great advertising campaign in the US. If you've watched any US sports over the last couple of weeks, you've probably seen these creepy people in the audience doing the smile. They've been placed there by the marketing team for this film deliberately. And this film works. It's one of the things that really hit me with this film. There's so many horror films out there these days that don't work. This film works. It goes back to that Hitchcockian feel of something's out of your control, but it's really happening and nobody believes you. Brilliant horror film. I really, really loved it.
An increasing sense of desperation, a feeling of no escape possible permeates this screenplay. There's no let up in the action, and we, the audience, feel the impact of the ordeal on Dr. Cotter. I reckon it really benefits from a strong starring role by Saucy Bacon. She channels vulnerability and fear with distinction, Peter, and she does most of the heavy lifting in the film, doesn't she?
She does. Look, it is quite an effective horror film, although it does work on familiar tropes from other similar sorts of horror films, but it does have a freshness to it, especially the way the jump scares are placed in the narrative. Yes, look, it's well produced and well made, and I think I had only a small issue with the resolution of the film, but that's another story. But overall, it is a good, effective, well-plotted, well-made horror film. And yes, I think Parker Finn is probably a filmmaker to watch.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. And the cinematography by Charlie Saroff and the lighting certainly aid the cause. Use of light and shade I thought was really impressive. And so too the menacing soundscape. The music is by Cristobal Tapia de Vere. I can't say I've come across Cristobal Tapia de Vere before, but again, I thought the soundscape was excellent. This really, for me, was a complete package in a genre where, when you think about it, quite a number of movies pull up short. I did not think this one did. Horror is a difficult thing to get right, and I reckon this one gets it spot on, Dave.
Yeah, it does, and it's also good to see Caitlin Stacey back on the big screen. She's an Australian actor who started her career in Neighbours, and she kind of disappeared after she did Tomorrow When the War Began. So it's good to see her back on the screen again, because she is a talented young actress, and hopefully this means that her Hollywood career will kick off. But also, as you said, Saucy Bacon is Kevin Bacon's daughter. She does a magnificent job in this film as well.
Yeah, and I mean, I mentioned before that the actress that you mentioned, the Australian actress, she made a short in 2020, and look at where it's led.
Yeah.
The interesting thing, we didn't have a preview of this one. I reckon this was absolutely a movie that could and should have been previewed. They previewed it in Sydney, but they didn't preview it in Melbourne. I'm not going to hold that against them, because they sent me a couple of tickets to go and see it on opening day, and I'm really, really pleased that I did, because it is something special. So it's called Smile. It's rated M, 114 minutes in duration. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10, Dave, and you?
Yeah, I'm giving it 8 out of 10 as well.
Now, Peter, by the way you've spoken, you're not going to give it an 8.
No. I think I had a few little issues with the last part of the narrative, but nevertheless, I think it's good, and give it 7 out of 10.
Okay, well, that's still a decent score. Dave, you weren't with us last week.